everybody to the Ortelius August 31st architecture meeting. Welcome, Raj. So let me drop the link to the doc to the chat. I can find chat. It's always amazing how things just disappear in Zoom.
I keep changing it,
Yeah.
and I realize you can't sync your some of the stuff like your audio. I can't sync it. I have to manually in Zoom um change
Well,
my
it's
volume.
it's because you have AI controlling your volume and it decides what you want it to hear it as best.
You're probably right.
All right. Because I see your bot jump into meetings now and then.
Yeah, I kicked it out now because I don't need to record them because they get recorded anyway.
Yeah. All right, so go ahead and sign in to the doc that I dropped there. Um, so a couple things. You probably seen yesterday crazy PRs and stuff flying around on Discord. What I've been doing is we've been getting a lot of uh, pull requests from Dependabot to deal with bumping versions and stuff like that. So I took the auto merge action that Brad McCoy put on I think on the backstage repo, and I've been rolling that out to the MS dash repos um, to enable the automation to work. So what happens is basically, let me see if I have one up. Here's one. So basically what it does is on a pull request, it checks to see if Dependabot is the one that's creating the pull request. And if it is, then it goes, there's a way to go and grab a bunch of data from Dependabot. And some of the things that it'll grab is whether it was a patch or a minor release versus major release. So Dependabot throws that into its JSON output, which is kind of handy to be able to determine what it's actually doing for Dependabot. And I've tried to look at the Dependabot code, but it's all in Ruby. And after I saw it was all written in Ruby, I'm like, all right, I'm not going to bother trying to see what's happening there. Not worth the headache. Um, so what it'll do is it'll figure out if the uh, PR's been approved or not, because sometimes depending on your GitHub settings, you may require an approval or review and stuff like that. So it'll go through and check to see if we have to do that. And then once it's done with that, it'll go ahead and do the auto squash. So this is where you'll see where it's doing it on the minor or a patch version. So if you have a major patch, if you go from like version 1.2.0 to 2.0.0, that's a major jump that we have to do manually, which makes sense. When I started looking at this, it was like, all right, we're doing a lot of work manually on our repos. And we really just need to start looking at the major patches, major releases manually and let everything else happen. The one thing I'm running into real weird is this step is failing because of some weird token issue. Um, so I'm trying to figure that out to get that sorted out. So you'll see a bunch of me trying stuff today again out there. Out, I may create another repo just to play with so people aren't bothered by the noise. But that's what's happening on this front. So Arvin, once I get this figured out, I will go ahead and let you know the file where it is, which is a good one to pull from, so you can go ahead and roll it out to all the other repositories. One of the other things I noticed that we need to roll out as well was on Dependabot, we are typically using uh, whether it's going to be pip for Python or Golang. I think it's going to be Go as the ecosystem for the Golang stuff, our Docker. We missed having the GitHub Actions. So our GitHub Actions, we're never getting the Dependabot updates. So that was one of the things that I will need to add as well across all the repos to make sure we're good on that front. Um, so that should keep us up to date and moving along a lot smoother once we get all that sorted out. Any questions on that?
Mm.
Not yet, but we can create our own GitHub action because there is an open source tool called Renovate, which is actually doing all this stuff, like auto merging and approving this. I will share the link
Yeah.
in the chat. Otherwise, it's a new solution, so we can definitely create our own GitHub action.
Okay. Yeah, because
I'm
these are.
using Renovate. Sorry to interrupt. I'm busy using Renovate for all my developers.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so I already know how to configure. I've been using it exactly what Arvin just said. It scans your dependencies and then it'll raise PRs for you, especially or scans all your dependencies and then raises the ones with CVEs or security issues, and it'll auto create the PRs. And you can tell it to either auto merge, or you can tell it obviously not to do that, but just raise the PRs so that you can decide, right?
Okay, cool. So I wonder if
Mm.
that may be a better way, better GitHub action than the Dependabot one.
Yeah, so what you do is
Uh, So is there a corresponding action? Because I just
y-
see that.
all you do is you have a renovate.yaml file. I just call it config-renovate.yaml so everyone knows what it is.
Uh-huh.
I can share one with you, with
Yeah,
everyone.
let me stop
Okay.
sharing and you can share what.
I can upload it into the channel,
Yeah,
if you
upload
want.
it into Discord. And
Yeah.
is this a GitHub app or is it a
No,
GitHub action?
I don't know. I suppose you could make it into action, but I'm not using it in that way because I'm not using Git. Unfortunately, the company I'm at now doesn't use GitHub. They use Bitbucket,
Oh,
which
okay.
is
So
which is
this is like
which is
a
a pity.
alternative.
Yeah, it is an alternative, but it works bloody well.
Okay, cool.
And you can do many cool things with it. I mean, I'm only scratching the tip of the iceberg because I don't want to freak the guys out too much.
Yeah, yeah. Cool. Well,
Hold on, I'll give you this file now. So you run this, and then there's even a pre-commit hook that you can get to even validate your renovate config.
okay, cool.
Yeah,
Because a lot of the pre-commit stuff we're running the Megalinter. So
yeah, the Megalint, I'm using it too. That thing's awesome.
yeah, I like Megalinter a lot.
Yeah, super awesome. Here you go. Just sticking the. There you go. It's in the channel there. It's like that simple. That's as simple as my config is.
which
But you can.
did
I'll
you
put it
drop?
in
Oh,
the
okay.
Your
in
screen.
the general channel.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
sorry, I should have put it in the dev
General.
channel.
That's right.
And then just specify your repo name there. And then the cool thing is that it does is it'll generate a PR saying, "Hey, do you want me to be configured to work on this repo?" And you can just when you approve that PR, it auto configures and it looks for this file.
All
And it
right,
also
cool.
create,
And
yeah,
is it one config renovate YAML per repo or
yeah, that's what I've
okay.
been doing. But I think you
Uh,
can do a global. I just
Okay.
haven't gotten there yet.
uh,
Yeah.
Yeah, Arvin.
Renovate is a bot. We don't add it any like in the GitHub action. It's a bot which will
Okay.
do all the stuff.
Yeah, it is
Got
about.
it.
So
Yeah, I don't have
it,
to do anything manually. I'm just saying that you have to do a little bit of configuration in the beginning, and then it manually or runs automatically.
Yeah.
so
I think you can do a global
it's the
config.
second link. In which you
Yeah,
can how we can
so I
set up
see
this.
Yeah, so it's a GitHub app because it's interesting that you bring this up because um, GitHub apps have different permissions than GitHub Actions. And one of the things I was running into, which makes sense, is um, you can't have an action auto merge another action. And the reason being is somebody can go in and mess with your actions on a PR and put some nefarious code into the action. And then the auto
That's
merge would go ahead and pick that up and merge it automatically on the action side. But because things are happening through Dependabot, it was one of those pain things that were difficult. But I think, like you said, because it's a GitHub app, apps have different permissions, and then we can kind of control it at that front. So let me look at that.
yeah. I just put my Bitbucket step. I know it's not GitHub, but it kind of gives you an idea of what the Bitbucket pipelines uses. Their kind of actions is called a pipe. Yeah, so it's a
All right.
pre-configured little container, which GitHub is, I think GitHub for me is far ahead of all these other source
Oh,
controls there.
yeah.
It's so way ahead. Bitbucket felt like I was going back in time to like the
Yeah.
1800s. Jeez. And it creates the README and everything for you, Steve. It tells you the version it's going to move from to, all of that. It's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. I've seen some of the other PR merge actions create stuff on the fly like readmes and things like that.
Yeah, my devs love it.
All right. So I will take a look at that, see what we need to do on that front. It sounds like it's going to be a lot easier to manage, and hopefully it'll fix some of the problems. So thanks for that, guys. I have been able to finish the normalization, denormalization JSON parser for the new release. And I was able to create a new Golang version of the CLI out there. So what we're able to do is we're able to run the Golang CLI, and it'll create the JSON schema on all the data and pass it over to the microservice running on the back end. The back end microservice stores it in an Arango DB, and then we're able to retrieve it back. We can go forward and backwards through that microservice. The next steps on that front are going to be hooking in the Ukarsh's common library and rolling out the changes I had to make to the microservices as well. So that's coming along really well. So keep posted on that front. The integrating Ukarsh's common NFT piece will happen in our common code piece. So it's basically we'll be able to plug it in and it'll turn on for everybody automatically. I'm gonna jump around. Arvin, I'll let you go to show us what you got at the end. We still need to do a UI design. I did not get around to creating this shared Figma doc. I will get that out there soon. So we'll get that going. One of the things with using Svelte as the front end framework, we will need to use the Svelte material UI components as well. Just because I looked at them and they have most of the controls that we need as components for Svelte, so we don't have to go and recreate anything from scratch. All the basics are there, even more than the basics. So let's see.
Yeah, so can I share the screen?
Yeah,
I will show you the demo.
give me 1 second.
Okay.
So if you go to Svelte material UI, they have all the the different things that you can do with all the demos out here, and like the ones that we'll need to do, like I think they have a table. Where's table? Table. We have the list, but and things like snack bar, which I thought was pretty slick. Where to put up the little pop up at the bottom for things like that. So it has everything that we needed. There's data table. And the data tables have pagination, headers, sticky headers. So I think we're going to be good on that front, being able to do use everything from the material UI for what we're doing. If we go beyond that, I think we're doing something wrong and making things too complicated. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing and we'll pass it over to Arvin.
So yeah, let me say this.
So Arvin's been working on the getting to understand Svelte as well, and he did some work on the npm as well, the package manager, as well as figuring out a tutorial.
Oh, nice.
So does my screen is visible?
Yeah, we can
Yeah.
see it.
So yeah, I just created a simple like feedback form where we can like any text. We can select any rating, and after we can send the rating here is updated, and is the average is updated. So this is a test feedback. We got this rating, and the average is also calculated on that, and we can like delete it. So it's like I am currently it's a front end product, so I am not using any database. So if I reload this, this will be gone. And let me share something like if you are following it's flat.dev, it is installing the spelt kit, not the spelt. For we have to use a spelt like without a spelt kit. I am using the white to create like this application, and here is the code structure. So the code structure is pretty simple. A public folder for static and the images file, the source code, and index.html. So I'm using white for all the dependencies are very low. Like I am using the spell and the white for the creating a new ID for creating a random like number. And for from that it is the index.html. It is the front page that is rendering on the like front end side. And then we go to the source folder, and source folder we have something. It is the main.js, which is like exporting the apps folder, and we have the app.file, which is like the main is file, and we have the like app.css, which contain all the global css that I am using here. So
Go
in
back to,
the
yeah.
apps file,
So one
where
of the interesting things, stay on app.svelte. So see on line 10, 11, and 12, those are tags that refer to the what they call components that you get to include. So go ahead and go over to your
uh, so here like it is the JavaScript, it is the HTML. Then we can below we can write the CSS like in the view. So like yeah, in the feedback form, let's go to the components. So it's in the feedback form components where is in the script like we are writing all the JavaScript here. Below that it is the component which is like the HTML part, and below that we are writing the CSS for like the same component.
Nice. I
Uh,
like it a lot. Did you use TypeScript for this or JavaScript?
Currently I'm using JavaScript.
Okay,
But we can like set up TypeScript while we are like is creating this project. So like we got the option to like use JavaScript or TypeScript.
right.
So we don't have to do it manually. And like the buttons, it is the button, and we are using a new like it is not HTML which is calling slot. which is like taking data, which is passing to this component. So like the button component which I am using like in the feedback form, which is getting the slot data. So we can this is the disable and this sort of stuff. And on click, it is the custom, like we have the click event, we have the mouse over event, which is the mouse under event. The rating select is the custom event, which we are defining it somewhere. So we are like defining it in another folder, like rating select as well. So we have, for creating a like custom event, we import create event dispatcher. We initialize it using the dispatch, and then dispatch is the name of the event, and which is the value that we are going to change. So in this way, we are like creating a custom event
Oh, nice. I didn't
in
realize you
any.
could do custom
we,
events. That's awesome.
y- y- yes, and like for passing like data in like in React, which you call the hooks, there is something like dollar and colon. So I will share it here. Like here, dollar dot colon count. So like instead of, we have two type of variable, which is something like wait, feedback. Mm. It is the normal variable lat, which we are using lat and import and construct, which will like we use in the same component. But we want any variable that we can use in multiple files. We use like dollar then count, and we can use this anywhere, like in other components also. And
Nice.
we are like, I created a store.js file. From that, we I am getting all the data. So is it also from like writable data? If I put only readable, then we can only read the data. We cannot write anything into it. But if I can define the writable, we I can add new data into it using dynamic place.
Cool. I like it a lot. And and
Yeah.
one of the things I understand with Svelte is it's very React light. So if you update any variable, um, uh, and assign it a new value, that the front end page will re-render with the new value automatically. So you don't have to do anything fancy about reloads or anything like that, or Ajax on a DOM object or anything like that. You can just go ahead and update variables, and it will automatically get passed along and updated in the on the web page for you.
Yes, and also the structure is like quite simple. Like we are using JavaScript first, then we write the HTML, then we write the CSS. So like all in one single file in separate components, we can debug it easily. There's a main gotcha is that like we are using it. If we use the file kit, it's used like server side rendering to do the HTML page, which is like good for the SEO purposes. Like web crawl easily find the application which is rendered by the backend stuff. And in the Svelte, we are not using any backend components. So that's the like main difference between Svelte and Svelte Kit.
Yeah, I think for what we're doing, if we just play by the rules of the toolkit and um, stick within those bounds, I think we should be able to move along pretty easily on that front. So I don't think that we'll, if we're going down the path where we are trying to do something weird, we should rethink it.
Yes.
So I have a
So
question
yeah,
for
that's
that's
yes,
awesome,
yeah.
Armin. That looks great. Can you share this project?
Uh, yes, I will like I like created a I followed the YouTube tutorial and I fixed it a little bit, but I will like add it into my GitHub and share the repo link.
Yeah, or just share the link that throw the link out on Discord of where the tutorial was that you followed.
Okay, I will. I'm
Just
doing it right now.
Okay.
I will like do it. Uh, yeah, sure.
Cool. That's awesome. So I'm
I followed this tutorial, a crash course, and the GitHub repo is there.
oh, perfect.
This one,
Yeah.
in
So
the
if you could
Discord, right?
drop those two links into Discord. Um, why he's doing that? Sasha, I did figure out the issue with our Helm charts for the new microservices.
Oh,
It was
cool.
just a double quoting thing on one of the templated variables. It was like the port number. It didn't like, you know how it wants the port number as a string versus a
Yeah.
number.
Jeez. That
So
is,
once
that sounds familiar.
I'm going to bundle all my stuff together, and then kind of we can divide and conquer and roll all the changes out to all the repos.
Okay, cool. That's a good idea.
So I'm trying to tie up these loose ends so we don't do double work. Um, but hopefully by the end of the week, I'll have a bunch of stuff that we can start rolling out on that front.
Okay,
Um,
cool.
and right now, I am uh, for the stuff I'm doing, I'm running a Rango in a Docker container,
Okay.
just with a persistent volume mount. So
Yeah, that
I
makes
think
sense.
I think we should be able to do something similar on the Kubernetes cluster. Just do a volume mount, kind of like what we did with the Postgres.
Exactly. You can do exactly the same thing. Exactly. That makes sense.
Yeah, and follow the same thing with kind, where you go into the kind
Yeah.
cluster config, you expose the volume, the host volume to the kind nodes.
Yeah.
Um, we'll do that same thing that we did with Postgres. So
Cool.
it is figured out, but give me a day or two so we can roll everything out, get it all
Yeah,
packaged
no
up and a
rush.
bow
That's all
on it.
good, eh? Yeah, that
Yeah.
sounds good.
Kind of on that front, one of the things, kind of last thing I have on my list is we need to take down our Azure cluster over that we have deploy running on and a bunch of other stuff. Basically, it's costing too much.
Mm.
That cluster over there is costing over $6,000 a year. Um,
Dollars.
yeah, so because
Mm.
you've built up the Ortelius in the box, everybody can run locally and do development locally. So that's kind of where we're going to be at.
I'm
Um,
saving you money. Excellent.
yep, yep,
Y- You have done a great job.
yeah. So
Thanks,
one
Alvin.
one one thing that I forgot to mention that
Yo,
did come up
like
is
113,000 rand a year. That's a lot, man.
yeah,
Jeez.
it's just ridiculous for what we're doing with it. Um, so we will need to do version 10, which you already got Ortelius in the box, and version
Uh,
11.
yeah.
Once we get the Helm charts fixes rolled out, and we'll build up a new chart to run all that in kind.
So basically, the Ortelius members have become a decentralized cloud.
Yep, exactly. Now
Using our local
theoretically,
computers. Using our
yep,
local computers.
yeah, exactly. And
Uh,
theoretically, because we're all of us are going to be all of us could be using the same NFT storage
mm,
account that we could actually run locally, but have a central database of all the NFT objects. So if you don't have it locally, we go out to the NFT
mm,
storage, pull it down, and then
brilliant.
it's kind of like a distributed file system that way.
Exactly. It was brilliant. It's actually a cool, it's cool for a demo and a talk, eh?
Yeah,
To show how we're doing that, eh? It'll be
yeah.
amazing. It's actually amazing. We don't
So
need the cloud. We are the cloud.
yeah, yeah. We build it all out on the fly. So that's a
Exactly.
little bit up in the air, but we'll get there.
Yeah, that's cool.
So I gotta send Brad McCoy an email, let him know we're gonna take the cluster down this weekend, um, and go from there.
Makes sense.
What was the other thing I was gonna ask? Oh, um, so I don't know if you guys heard this, but uh, HashiCorp has changed their licensing around Terraform.
I saw that.
Yeah,
Yes, yeah, Terraform is going in business plan, and a new foundation create like a wrapper fork of Terraform.
yeah. So I haven't looked at the licensing directly, but from my
Nor have I.
understand
I just saw that the
is
heading. I didn't really.
yeah, it's one of those where you can't ship Terraform yourself. I think it's one of those
Yes.
situations. So
What does that
um,
mean for
we
us?
we may
Oh,
need to look at a different solution than Terraform.
okay. Something like Pulumi or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And I think Kat, uh, who's
I can
with
give
the
you a
Imports.
recommendation to look at. It's called
Yeah, so
cluster.dev.
if you could poke your head around, Sasha, on what the Terraform alternatives are.
I've got a ton, Steve. And the one that I've been looking at
Can
is
we?
agnostic to any language, and you can even incorporate all your Helm. It can basically run any it's written by some guys in Ukraine. It's called cluster.dev. I'll post the page in the dev channel for you.
All right, cool.
I actually spoke to them. It's
I
pretty insane.
just I
Yeah,
checked the Terraform pricing, and it's low. It's quite low. I shared the piece.
okay, cool.
What I like about cluster.dev is that everything you've written currently, you don't have to throw away. You can keep it all.
Cool.
Yeah. And you can just convert that Terraform part, if there is any Terraform, into whatever else, YAML or something.
Right. And the other part I was thinking of is if there's something from like Rancher, K3S, that
Good
has
idea.
something similar to Terraform for standing up clusters.
That's a good idea, yeah.
I don't know. I know I've gotten Ortelius to run on K3S instead of Kind, so I know it works. Um, but I have not looked at any of the cluster provisioning pieces of it. I just took it from the Helm perspective. So I've manually stood up a K3S cluster through the Rancher UI and then deployed to it through using our Helm charts and got it to work.
Mm.
But I have not looked at any cluster provisioning pieces.
Okay. Yeah, cool. I think they took a feather out of Red Hat's cap there.
Well, it's um it seems to be the new trend.
Yeah.
So like one of the things that I ran into with our microservices, because we use the chain guard base image for a lot of our stuff, so we have a secure image to build off of. They changed their licensing, so you couldn't do like chain guard, Python, 317 as the image name for you to go and grab. So what it ends up being is you have to always use latest from chain guard. So you could use the
Mm.
at latest tag. But what that
Mhm.
does is that goes against all of the software supply chain security saying never use latest. So they're like, all right,
Yes.
you should never use latest. So instead, you should buy support in a package from ChainGuard, so you can then pick the tags and the stuff that you want. So, like I said, it's one of those
Weird, yeah. Because every time you
revenue.
use a Docker linter, it always tells you never use latest, and
Yep,
it'll block you there.
Yeah. So they're kind of doing like what HashiCorp is doing, where they're kind of forcing you now into the path of purchasing a subscription from them.
Yeah.
And same thing happened with Docker Hub. Docker Hub was free, and
Yeah.
then they went to
Yeah.
the rate limiting, which forced you to sign up and all that stuff. So
But it's a good discussion because it's like open source is amazing, right? It really breeds amazing innovation. But how do you also then pay all the people who are trying to work on this thing, right? How do you make it like? So I guess that's the balance, right? It's so hard. How do
yeah,
you do it?
exactly. But it's one of those things that the way I look at it is, if you want a level of support other than the community support, if you want things
Mm,
faster, then you
mm,
go and pay for things. Otherwise, um, it's that whole model, string me along with the free stuff, and then oh, oops, in a week your
mm.
trial's up, and they never told you that that was ever going to happen.
Yeah, and then you shot yourself in the foot with all this time and effort, which is
Yep.
it's a little bit unfair, right? It's rather very unfair, in fact, because it's yeah.
But that seems to be the model.
Yeah,
Get you
Steve.
get you get you hooked, and then uh
Yeah, it's like give you the drugs and then suddenly take them away.
yeah. Yeah, Irvin.
Uh, uh, yeah, last week I told you about my friend who was running from the CMU. He's the Raj. Is the in the meeting.
Hi, Raj. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you, Raj.
Hi guys, thank you for thank you guys for letting me in. I've been hearing about Ortelius even co-workers. Um, let's introduce myself. So I'm a Carden. I'm studying business and yeah, I'm in Pittsburgh and I have a background and I'm just so what was going on because
Cool.
I have an experience in development. Uh, I don't know, I still feel like
Well, Arvin, can you make sure he's on our Discord channel?
He has already joined our channel.
Okay, cool. Because
Yeah, so
that's
it's
where
really about the order. Yeah.
we're gonna continue this discussion on Discord on everything that we talked about today. And so keep a lookout there. And can you drop your Discord handle and your GitHub handle in the chat? So that way we know who to bug.
Till
Guys,
the meantime, yeah, go ahead.
anything else that we have that we need to talk about today?
Yeah, I have also made a Figma prototype. So
Oh,
like I
good.
was playing with Figma for few. Yeah,
Uh, can,
I'm showing it to you.
yeah, share that link and to your Figma, and we'll go that route instead of what you may need to do is drop the link, and we'll see if we can get into it. If we can't, we'll get that sorted out through permissions.
Uh, okay, if you want, I can show it to you right now. So if you like it, I will start continue working on it.
Cool.
No, well, I don't have anything. Was that Azure cluster part of the CNCF, or was that was that something you were playing out of your own pocket, or what?
So we transferred the Ortelius cluster over to be under the Linux Foundation. So the
Ah,
Linux
yes,
Foundation
yes.
is paying for it, and the cost is just too high.
Yeah, it's radical, eh? $6,000 a year. Jeez. What is
Yeah,
that?
and like it's weird because pretty much the same thing that Deploy Hub is running, is only costing like right now it's like $210 a month. So whatever that be is just under $3,000 a year or less.
Yeah. That's a massive difference.
Yeah, so there's something weird going on that we'll need to figure out. And if we need to have a public one, we'll figure out how to deal with that down the road.
You can buy one of those little mini clusters. Put it in a data center.
Yeah, a bunch of Raspberry Pis.
Exactly. It's much cheaper. Turing Pi, Steve. Turing Pi.
Yeah. And I have been in talks with Oracle about their the Oracle Cloud Kubernetes. So I'm then this is for Deploy Hub, but it'll carry over to Ortelius as well. They're going to give me a quote. I pull some numbers from them, but I'll let you guys know what Oracle charges and
That'll be
stuff.
That'll be interesting to hear, because I don't know anything about their pricing structure. All that I know is that they're expensive. Because where I was, they were moving away from the database side, right?
Yeah.
But maybe running your stuff in their cloud is different. I don't know.
Yep. I think the big cost ends up being in the networking. So I think some of the dedicated networking resources, like for load balancing and ingress and stuff like that, is where they really get you on the bills.
It is.
So we'll have to see. And supposedly Oracle has, like Google and AWS have different prices depending on which region you're in. So if you want to run in Japan versus, South Africa versus somewhere in the States, it's a different pricing model.
Yeah.
Oracle's claims that they're equal pricing across all regions.
Really interesting.
So, and then something, I can't remember how much, and then basically it's free in region networking costs. So if you have a database in the network and we have our Kubernetes cluster all in the same region, that traffic is free. You don't get charged for in network traffic or in region traffic. So
in region traffic.
Yeah,
that's going to be interesting to hear what they give you.
Yeah, we'll see. But anyways, anybody else have anything else? Arvin, where did you drop your link for your Figma?
I haven't. I will make a public link. Let me show it to you once, so you can take a look.
All right.
Because it's my first time doing the design stuff, and I'm not very good in it. So I have created this. My screen is visible.
Cool.
Let me show you in the preview mode. Start mode of your. I am not sure why this is not working, but yeah, I have created this designs.
Cool.
And it's very easy to working on this stuff.
Right.
You create any frame from here, and it's just that is. So I have choose the desktop size. Then if
Right.
you click it, create a new desktop, and you can easily like just wait it. You can
Right.
easily create this. And for creating this, I have used the text, and we can like create any like text form, like if I write something hello world,
Yeah.
we can easily like manipulate all the text setting
Cool.
here, and it has all the additional setting. So yeah, this is it.
Yeah. Go ahead. When you figure it out, go ahead and share the link on Discord, and we'll go from
Yeah,
there.
I will share in the dev channel, and I will tag you.
Cool. All right.
Cool.
Awesome, everybody. Well,
Thanks,
thanks a
Steve.
lot,
Thanks,
and we'll
Alvin.
talk to you in Discord.
Thanks, Raj. Cheers.
Cheers.